The desperate discovery. Dr. Ava Venek sat in her dimly lit laboratory, the flickering lights reflecting the despair etched across her features. The walls, lined with screens displaying graphs and charts of failed experiments, seemed to close in on her as she reviewed the latest dismal reports. Each failure felt like another nail in the coffin of her people, the Kellyans. For years, they had battled a devastating infertility crisis, and with each passing day, hope dwindled. The once thriving race faced extinction, a grim reality that haunted Ava's every waking moment. She had poured her heart and soul into research, trying every conceivable method to revive their dwindling birth rates. But the latest treatment, one that had promised a glimmer of hope, had collapsed into failure. The genetic anomalies that had emerged over generations were stubbornly resistant, and Ava found herself wondering if there was any solution left at all. Just as her thoughts spiraled deeper into despair, a sharp chime at the door broke the silence, jolting her from her reverie. "Enter," she called, her voice a mere whisper, heavy with exhaustion. Her assistant Tal rushed into the room, his usual calm demeanor replaced with palpable excitement. "Dr. Venek, you need to see this," he exclaimed, nearly out of breath. He thrust a data pad into her hands, his eyes wide with a mixture of hope and urgency. "What is it?" Ava asked, her interest piqued despite the heaviness in her heart. She scanned the pad quickly, her brow furrowing as she processed the information. "The deep space scans have detected an unidentified vessel entering our system. It's broadcasting a distress signal," Tal explained, his voice barely containing the thrill of potential discovery. Ava's heart raced at the unexpected news. Kellyan ships had become scarce in the galaxy, too consumed by the infertility crisis to spare resources for exploration or contact with other species. An alien visitor seemed like a far-off dream or a nightmare. "What do they want?" "We're in no state to render aid," she said dismissively, her tone edged with fatigue. Surely, the High Council would prioritize their crisis and send the ship away to minimize the risk of contamination. "That's just it, Dr. Venek," Tal insisted, his enthusiasm unyielding. "The occupant of the ship claims to be a doctor from a species called humans. He says he intercepted our transmissions about the infertility epidemic and wants to help." Ava's heart skipped a beat. An alien doctor offering to assist with their greatest crisis. It seemed too incredible to be true. Could this human hold the key to salvation? She quickly scanned the initial reports, her breath hitching as she absorbed the details. The human, identifying himself as Dr. Ethan Davis, was described as having biological similarities to Kellyans, but with a few key differences. Notably, his reproductive system showed no signs of the infertility markers that plagued her people. "Get Dr. Davis on a secure channel immediately," Ava ordered, a new spark of hope igniting within her. "And notify the High Council. If this human can really help us, we have no time to waste." As Tal rushed to carry out her commands, Ava felt a mix of excitement and skepticism. The fate of her entire species might rest on this pivotal encounter, and she steeled herself, determined to find out what this unexpected alliance could bring. Dr. Ethan Davis materialized in the gleaming Kellyan transporter room, his heart racing with equal parts excitement and trepidation. He couldn't quite believe he was here, the first human to make contact with this fascinating alien species. The journey from Earth had been fraught with uncertainty, but when he intercepted their desperate transmissions about the infertility crisis, he knew he had to try to help. Ethan had spent years researching reproductive medicine back on Earth, driven by a deep empathy for those struggling to conceive. His breakthroughs in understanding the complex interplay of genetics and environmental factors had earned him a solid reputation in the medical community, but nothing prepared him for the opportunity that lay before him now. As he stepped onto the shimmering platform, he took a moment to gather his thoughts. What if he could offer them a solution? What if the knowledge he carried could change the fate of an entire race? These thoughts flooded his mind as he awaited his first glimpse of the Kellyans. The transporter shimmered, and before him stood Dr. Ava Venek, her features a mixture of relief and determination. She was stunning, her striking blue skin glowing under the artificial lights, but it was her eyes that captivated him. They held the weight of an entire civilization's plight. "Dr. Davis," she greeted, her voice steady yet filled with urgency. "Thank you for coming. We are in desperate need of assistance." Ethan nodded, meeting her gaze. "I received your transmissions. I'm here to help in any way I can." Ava gestured for him to follow her into the laboratory, a vast space filled with advanced technology and holographic displays of genetic sequences. "Our infertility crisis has reached catastrophic levels," she explained as they walked. "We've lost generations to this affliction, and time is running out. You're our last hope." As they entered the lab, Ethan's heart sank at the sight of countless vials and data screens filled with numbers that told a bleak story. "What have you tried so far?" he asked, his mind racing to formulate a plan. "Every conceivable treatment has been attempted," Ava replied, her tone heavy with sorrow. "We've experimented with genetic editing, hormonal therapies, even experimental drugs, but nothing has worked. The markers are deeply rooted in our DNA." Ethan paused, considering the information. "If I may, I have experience in genetic modification and could potentially create a tailored approach using your genetic material and my findings from Earth." Ava's eyes lit up with hope, but then her expression shifted, uncertainty creeping in. "But you must understand the risks. If the High Council learns of your methods, they may not allow it. We're already under strict scrutiny for the experiments we've conducted." "Then we keep this between us," Ethan proposed, a determined glint in his eyes. "I'm here to help your people, but we need to act quickly." With a heavy sigh, Ava nodded. "Very well, let's begin." As the two doctors delved into the intricate world of genetics, their collaborative efforts ignited a spark of innovation that had long been extinguished. With each passing moment, they shared knowledge, skills, and a determination to save the Kellyan race. What started as a desperate plea for help began to morph into a partnership that could defy the odds, setting the stage for a revolution in both their worlds. Seeds of change. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon of the Kellyan homeworld, Dr. Ava Venek and Dr. Ethan Davis were deep in their research. The laboratory hummed with energy, a stark contrast to the pervasive gloom that had hung over the Kellyans since the onset of their infertility crisis. Advanced technology illuminated the room with a blue glow, casting a serene light over a series of holographic displays showcasing complex genetic sequences. "Look here," Ethan pointed at a particular DNA strand suspended in the air, the intricate spirals pulsating gently. "This mutation appears to be linked to the infertility markers you mentioned. If we can isolate it, we might be able to design a treatment that addresses the root cause." Ava leaned closer, her brow furrowing in concentration as she examined the data. "I've seen this pattern before, but we assumed it was a byproduct of our environmental adaptations," she said thoughtfully. "We thought we had no choice but to accept it as part of our biology. Perhaps we were too quick to conclude that there was no remedy." "Maybe you do have a choice," Ethan replied, his voice filled with infectious enthusiasm. "We can't just focus on the symptoms. We need to get to the heart of the issue. This could change everything for your people." The prospect of actual change lit a fire in Ava's chest. She nodded vigorously, a renewed determination flooding her veins. "We can't waste any time. I'll arrange for samples to be collected from the few Kellyans who have successfully conceived. If we can find the genetic markers that enabled their fertility, it could lead us to a viable treatment for everyone else." With a plan in place, the two scientists worked tirelessly over the following days. They shared late-night brainstorming sessions, exchanging ideas and hopes, each contributing their unique expertise. The chemistry between them was palpable, blossoming in the crucible of shared purpose and mutual respect. As Ethan delved into the Kellyan genetic database, he became fascinated not only by the science, but also by Ava's unwavering spirit and intellect. But as their work progressed, the political climate within the Kellyan High Council began to shift. Tensions simmered, and whispers of dissent filled the air. Some council members were wary of Ethan's presence, fearing that his methods could undermine their authority or expose them to outside threats. This skepticism was heightened by a deeply ingrained belief among the Kellyans that their problems were unique and needed to be solved within their race. One evening, just as they were finishing up for the day, a sudden commotion echoed through the corridors of the laboratory. Tal burst into the room, his expression a mix of urgency and fear. "Dr. Venek, the High Council has called an emergency meeting. They want to discuss your collaboration with Dr. Davis." Ava's heart raced. The anxiety in Tal's voice made the situation even more urgent. She exchanged a worried glance with Ethan, who looked equally apprehensive. "We need to prepare. They may try to shut us down," Ava said, her voice steady but laced with tension. Ethan straightened, determination flickering in his eyes. "We can't let them derail this. We have a real chance to save your people." "Right," Ava replied, rallying her thoughts. "We need to present our findings clearly. We'll demonstrate the potential of this collaboration, show them the data, and the hope it brings." With newfound resolve, they gathered their most promising research data and organized it into a comprehensive presentation. As they worked late into the night, the stakes felt higher than ever. For Ava, it was not just about the data. It was about the lives of countless Kellyans who depended on them. The next day, Ava and Ethan stood before the High Council, a group of stern-faced Kellyans draped in elaborate robes that symbolized their status. The chamber was vast, filled with an air of authority that weighed heavily on Ava's shoulders. She felt a surge of anxiety as she glanced at the council members, their gazes piercing and skeptical. Dr. Venek, the lead council member, a grizzled Kellyan named Chief Harron, began, his voice booming through the chamber. "You stand before us today with an alien in our midst. Explain why we should trust him with our greatest crisis." Ava took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Honorable Council, I understand your concerns, but we are facing extinction. I invite you to listen to Dr. Davis, who has devoted his life to reproductive medicine. He possesses knowledge and technology that could unlock the solution to our infertility crisis." Ethan stepped forward, exuding a quiet confidence. "I'm here to assist your people in any way possible. The research we've conducted together has yielded promising results. If we can isolate the genetic markers from those Kellyans who have conceived, we can develop targeted treatments that may reverse the infertility affliction." A murmur spread through the council. Ava sensed a flicker of intrigue, mixed with skepticism. Chief Harron narrowed his eyes. "And what makes you think that your human methods will work when ours have failed?" Ethan leaned in slightly, his voice calm and sincere. "Because we've identified specific mutations in your genetic code that correlate with the infertility markers. We believe that with advanced genetic editing techniques from Earth, we can create a viable solution. This is an unprecedented opportunity for both of our species." The room fell silent as the council members exchanged glances. Ava's heart pounded in her chest, the weight of the moment hanging heavy. She hoped that her words and Ethan's expertise would resonate with them. After a tense pause, Chief Harron leaned back, stroking his chin thoughtfully. "Very well. We will allow you to proceed with your research, but under strict supervision. You will report to us weekly on your progress." Ava felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Chief Harron. I assure you we will work diligently to find a solution for our people." As they left the council chamber, Ethan turned to Ava, his eyes filled with determination. "This is just the beginning, Ava. Together, we can create a future for your people." With a renewed sense of purpose, they returned to the laboratory, ready to embark on the next phase of their mission. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for the first time in years, there was a flicker of hope illuminating their path. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Ava and Ethan collected genetic samples from the Kellyans who had managed to conceive. They worked tirelessly, analyzing data, conducting experiments, and developing potential treatments. Each day brought new revelations, new challenges, and new reasons to push forward. As they delved deeper into their research, a surprising friendship blossomed between them. Ava found herself drawn to Ethan's passion for his work, his humor providing a welcome relief from the pressures of their situation. They shared late-night discussions, filled with laughter and dreams of a better future. With every breakthrough they made, the walls of despair that had enclosed Ava for so long began to crumble. One evening, as they reviewed their latest findings, Ethan turned to Ava, his expression serious. "What if we succeeded, Ava? What would it mean for your people?" Ava's gaze drifted to the window, where the twin moons of their planet hung low in the sky, casting a silvery glow over the landscape. It would mean a chance at survival, a chance to rebuild our society, to restore the family structures that have been lost. Her voice trembled with emotion. It would mean hope. Ethan smiled softly, his heart swelling with admiration for her resolve. "Then let's make that hope a reality. Together." With their hearts set on the same goal, they forged ahead, determined to change the fate of an entire race. As they continued their work, little did they know that their collaboration would set off a chain of events that would forever alter the course of history, not only for the Kellians, but for all beings in the galaxy. The genetic breakthrough. The weeks rolled on, each day blurring into the next as Dr. Ava Venek and Dr. Ethan Davis immersed themselves in their groundbreaking research. The laboratory, once filled with despair, had transformed into a hive of activity. Holographic displays flickered with data, and the air buzzed with the energy of possibility. It was a place where hope was being cultivated, and for the first time in years, Ava felt as if she was truly making progress toward a solution. As they delved deeper into the genetic intricacies of the Kellians, their bonds strengthened. They shared long hours of research, late-night brainstorming sessions, and passionate discussions about their findings. Ava found herself not only admiring Ethan's intellect, but also growing to appreciate his warmth and humanity. Their laughter echoed in the sterile walls, a stark contrast to the solemnity that had once permeated the space. One particular afternoon, as golden sunlight filtered through the laboratory windows, illuminating the room in a warm glow, they reached a pivotal moment. They were analyzing the latest batch of genetic samples, an exhausting yet exhilarating process. Ava was combing through the data on her terminal when Ethan called her over, his voice barely containing his excitement. "Ava, you need to see this." His eyes sparkled with an intensity that set her heart racing. "What is it?" she asked, rushing to his side. "Look at this genetic sequence." Ethan pointed to a series of brightly colored markers on the display. "We've been focusing too narrowly on the infertility markers. Instead, we should be looking at the sequences present in the few Kellians who have successfully conceived." Ava leaned closer, her breath hitching as she processed the information. "Are you suggesting that there's a genetic key hidden among the successful conceptions?" "Exactly," Ethan said, enthusiasm radiating from him. "This specific gene, the one I'm highlighting, appears consistently in every successful case we've examined. It produces a unique protein that seems to play a critical role in reproductive health." "Are you sure?" Ava's voice trembled with disbelief and hope. "After all our failures, it feels almost too good to be true." "I'm certain," Ethan exclaimed, his confidence unwavering. "We need to isolate this gene and synthesize the protein. If we can introduce this modified gene into the genetic structure of other Kellians, we might be able to reverse the infertility markers that have plagued them." Ava's heart raced as the implications of Ethan's words sank in. They could potentially be on the brink of a breakthrough, a chance to save her people from extinction. "Let's get to work immediately. We can't waste another moment." They dove into the tasks ahead with renewed vigor. The laboratory hummed with activity as they prepared samples, ran tests, and engaged in an intricate dance of scientific discovery. With each experiment, the air crackled with excitement, a palpable energy that reminded Ava of the passion that had once ignited her quest for answers. As days turned into weeks, they meticulously synthesized the protein, refining their techniques and troubleshooting setbacks. The work was grueling, often leaving them exhausted, but neither Ava nor Ethan wavered in their commitment. They pushed each other, fueled by their shared purpose and the hope that their efforts would bear fruit. One evening, after a particularly long day of trial and error, they found themselves taking a break. They leaned back against the cool metal of the laboratory wall, sharing a moment of quiet reflection. The tension of the past weeks began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of camaraderie. "Do you think it will work?" Ava asked, breaking the silence, her voice soft but laced with determination. "I believe it will," Ethan replied, meeting her gaze. "I've seen the resilience of your people. You deserve a chance to thrive again. We're just unlocking the potential that already exists within your DNA." Ava smiled at his unwavering faith, the warmth of his words filling her with hope. "Thank you, Ethan, for believing in us, for being here." Before he could respond, the lab's communication system buzzed to life. Tar's voice crackled through the speaker, interrupting their moment. "Dr. Venek, Dr. Davis, you're needed in the main chamber. The High Council has requested an urgent update on our progress." Ava straightened, a rush of nerves cascading through her. "We can't let them see our doubts. We must present our findings with confidence." Ethan nodded, his expression serious yet supportive. "We've made significant strides. They need to know that hope is on the horizon." With a shared determination, they gathered their notes and prepared for the meeting. As they entered the main chamber, the atmosphere shifted. The council members were gathered in a semicircle, their expressions a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. "Dr. Venek," Chief Harren addressed her, his voice booming in the echoing space. "What progress have you made in combating the infertility crisis?" Ava stepped forward, her heart pounding. "Honorable Council, I stand before you with hopeful news. Dr. Davis and I have made significant breakthroughs in our research. We've identified a genetic marker that appears consistently in successful conceptions among our people. By synthesizing a protein linked to this marker, we believe we can develop a treatment that may reverse the infertility affliction affecting so many Kellians." The room fell silent as the council members exchanged glances. Ava felt a wave of anxiety wash over her as she awaited their response. "And what guarantees can you provide that your human methods will work where ours have failed?" Chief Harren challenged, his voice edged with skepticism. Ethan stepped forward, meeting Harren's gaze with unwavering confidence. "We're on the verge of synthesizing a protein that could unlock the potential for fertility in Kellians. We believe this protein can interact positively with the genetic anomalies you've encountered. We need to proceed with clinical trials to verify our findings." Harren studied Ethan for a long moment, the silence thick with tension. Finally, he nodded slowly. "You may continue your research, but under the watchful eyes of our council. We cannot risk further failures." With the weight of the council's decision hanging over them, Ava and Ethan left the chamber, a mixture of relief and apprehension swirling within them. They had secured permission to continue their work, but now they faced the daunting task of proving their findings. Back in the laboratory, the urgency of their mission pressed down on them. They worked tirelessly to synthesize the protein, employing advanced techniques to manipulate the genetic structure. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as they prepared to conduct their first trial. As they stood together, reviewing their process, Ethan turned to Ava, his voice steady. "This is it, Ava. We've poured everything into this moment. Whatever happens, we've given it our all." Together, she affirmed, a smile breaking through her earlier tension. They initiated the first trial, the data streaming in real time as they monitored the reaction. Ava held her breath, her heart racing with each passing second. Would their hard work pay off? Would they finally unlock the key to a future for her people? After what felt like an eternity, the screen flickered with data. Ethan's eyes widened. Look, the initial reactions are promising. The protein is interacting with the genetic material. Ava's heart soared as she studied the readings. This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for. We have to keep monitoring the data. Over the following days, they meticulously tracked the progress, making adjustments as needed, but the results remained consistently positive. With each success, their confidence grew, and the once bleak laboratory began to buzz with the sounds of hope and determination. As they delved deeper into their research, word of their progress spread among the Kellians. Tal, ever the diligent assistant, relayed messages of support from families desperate for a solution. Each kind word fueled their resolve, reminding Ava and Ethan of the lives hanging in the balance. With renewed energy, they pushed onward, the laboratory illuminated not just by technology, but by the burgeoning hope that their work would soon bear fruit. They were united in a mission that transcended their individual capabilities, a partnership that was changing the narrative of an entire race. But the journey was far from over. As they stood on the precipice of discovery, unknown challenges loomed on the horizon. The High Council's watchful eyes and the burden of expectation weighed heavily on them, and the road ahead would demand every ounce of ingenuity, resilience, and courage they could muster. Little did they know, the greatest tests were yet to come, and the path to salvation would challenge everything they believed about their worlds and themselves. Trials and tribulations. As the weeks stretched into a seemingly endless cycle of experiments and data analysis, Dr. Ava Venak and Dr. Ethan Davis found themselves navigating the complex landscape of hope and desperation. Their collaboration had evolved from a mere partnership into a friendship forged in the fires of shared purpose, with both scientists committed to overcoming the infertility crisis that threatened the very existence of the Kellian race. The laboratory was now a sanctuary of determination, filled with the soft hum of machinery and the flickering lights of holographic displays that projected their findings. Yet, amid this atmosphere of innovation, the pressure was mounting. The High Council's interest in their progress loomed large, casting a shadow over their every experiment. One afternoon, while they meticulously analyzed the results of their latest trial, Tal burst into the lab, his face flushed with urgency. "Dr. Venek, we've just received word from the High Council. They want an update on our trials. Immediately." Ava's heart raced at the sudden news. "When do they want this update?" she asked, forcing her voice to remain steady despite the flutter of anxiety in her chest. "They're convening in an hour," Tal replied, glancing nervously at Ethan. "They're expecting to see significant progress." Ethan exchanged a worried look with Ava, his brow furrowed in concern. "We've had promising results, but they may not be enough to satisfy the Council's expectations. We've been so focused on the data, I haven't considered how to present it compellingly." Ava took a deep breath, steeling herself for the challenge ahead. "We can't let them down, Ethan. We have to show them what we've achieved, how close we are to finding a solution. Let's prepare our presentation and highlight the most significant breakthroughs." They quickly gathered their findings, organizing charts and datasets that illustrated their progress. Ava felt a mix of determination and anxiety coursing through her veins as they meticulously prepared for the impending meeting. Every moment felt like a step closer to salvation or potential disaster. When they arrived at the High Council chamber, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. The council members were seated in a semicircle, their expressions a blend of skepticism and curiosity. Chief Harron, the imposing leader, regarded them with an intensity that made Ava's palms sweat. "Dr. Venek, Dr. Davis," he began, his voice echoing off the chamber walls. "You have requested an audience to present your findings regarding the infertility crisis. We are eager to hear what you have to say, but let me be clear. Time is running out for our people." Ava nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "Honorable Council, we stand before you today with promising developments. We have isolated a specific genetic marker that appears consistently in Kellians who have successfully conceived. This marker produces a protein vital for reproductive health." Ethan stepped forward, gesturing to the holographic display behind them, where graphs and images illustrating their findings came to life. By synthesizing this protein and introducing it into the genetic structure of other Kellians, we believe we can reverse the infertility afflictions that have plagued your people. The room fell silent as the council members exchanged skeptical glances. Chief Harren leaned forward, his voice steady. You claim this protein will solve our crisis, yet we have seen countless experiments fail before. What makes your approach different? Because we are addressing the root of the problem, Ethan replied, passion infusing his voice. Our previous methods focused on treating symptoms rather than understanding the underlying genetic issues. We have data showing that the successful conceptions correlate with the presence of this protein. If we can synthesize it, we can restore fertility. Ava watched the council members as they absorbed Ethan's words. She could sense their doubts lingering, but she refused to back down. This is our best chance. We have already begun preliminary trials, and the initial results are promising. With your support, we can move forward with more extensive testing. After a tense moment, Chief Harren spoke again, his voice even. We will allow you to proceed with your trials, but only under strict oversight from the Council. You will report weekly on your progress, and any failures will be met with immediate cessation of your project. Our people cannot afford further disappointment. Ava felt a wave of relief wash over her, though the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders. Thank you, Chief Harren. We will work tirelessly to prove that this approach can succeed. As they exited the chamber, Ava turned to Ethan, a mix of determination and anxiety swirling within her. We have a chance, Ethan, but we must deliver results. The Council's scrutiny will be intense. Ethan nodded, his expression serious. We've come too far to fail now. We'll refine our process and conduct more trials. I believe we can do this. In the days that followed, Ava and Ethan threw themselves into their work with newfound vigor. They meticulously prepared for their trials, ensuring every detail was accounted for. As they worked late into the night, the laboratory became a sanctuary of hope, filled with the sounds of clicking keyboards and humming machines. However, as they progressed, they encountered challenges that tested their resolve. The synthesis of the protein was more complex than they had anticipated, and the results of their initial trials were not as promising as they had hoped. The Council's expectations loomed over them like a storm cloud, threatening to overshadow their every success. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, Ava sat in the lab, her head in her hands. Ethan, I don't know if we can do this. What if we fail? What if we disappoint the Council and our people? Ethan placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Ava, setbacks are a part of research. We can't let fear dictate our progress. Remember why we started this. We're fighting for the future of your people. Every great discovery is born from failure. Taking a deep breath, Ava looked up at him, feeling bolstered by his unwavering support. You're right. We can't give up now. Let's regroup and analyze our results. There has to be a solution within our reach. They spent the following days meticulously examining their data, identifying patterns and anomalies that could provide insights into their work. Slowly but surely, they began to refine their approach, making adjustments to their synthesis methods and trial protocols. Just as their spirits began to lift, they received another call from the High Council, requesting an unscheduled meeting. A sense of dread washed over Ava as they prepared to present their findings once again. When they entered the council chamber, the atmosphere felt different, more charged, as if the council members were on edge. Chief Harren looked at them with an intensity that made Ava's heart race. Dr. Venek, Dr. Davis, he began, his voice somber. We've received troubling reports regarding your trials. There are concerns that the methods you are employing could be deemed unethical. The council demands an explanation. Ava felt her heart drop. We are following strict protocols, Chief Harren. We would never put any Kellian at risk. Nevertheless, there are factions within the council that believe your methods could pose a threat, Harren continued. They demand that you cease all trials until further investigation can be conducted. Ethan stepped forward, his voice firm yet respectful. Chief Harron, we are on the brink of a breakthrough. We understand the Council's concerns, but halting our work now could mean losing the chance to save countless lives. We need your support to continue. The Council members exchange heated whispers, their faces reflecting a mix of doubt and concern. Ava could feel the weight of their scrutiny, the fear of failure tightening around her chest. Allow us to present our findings, she urged, her voice steady despite the tremor of anxiety beneath. We have made progress, and we believe it can change the course of our race's survival. As they shared their latest results, a flicker of intrigue sparked among some of the Council members. They listened intently as Ava detailed their findings, the promise of hope illuminating her words. After what felt like an eternity, Chief Harron finally spoke again. We will deliberate on your findings and reconvene in 2 days. You may continue your work in the meantime, but know that the scrutiny will be unyielding. As they left the chamber, Ava felt a mix of relief and trepidation. We have a chance, Ethan, but the pressure is on us now more than ever. Ethan nodded, his expression resolute. We'll prove them wrong, Ava. We've come too far to turn back now. We'll make this work for your people and for ourselves. With their spirits bolstered, they returned to the lab, determined to push forward against the odds. Every moment counted as they delved deeper into their research, each day drawing them closer to a potential breakthrough. The journey was fraught with uncertainty, but as they labored side by side, they forged a bond that would be tested by the trials ahead. Little did they know, the challenges they faced would not only test their scientific ingenuity, but also their resilience, loyalty, and the very fabric of their newfound friendship. The path to salvation was paved with trials, and as they embraced the journey, they prepared to confront the obstacles that awaited them in the shadows of doubt. With the High Council's uncertainty looming over them like a storm cloud, Dr. Ava Venak and Dr. Ethan Davis felt the weight of their mission intensify. They had pushed through countless obstacles, yet now, the fear of potential failure was more palpable than ever. The atmosphere in the laboratory, once filled with the excitement of discovery, was now tinged with anxiety and pressure. As they prepared for the Council's reconvening in 2 days, every moment felt critical. They returned to their research with renewed vigor, each data set analyzed with precision, each hypothesis scrutinized to ensure nothing was left to chance. Yet, despite their focus, doubt began to creep into their minds, threatening to unravel the hope they had fought so hard to cultivate. One evening, while they pored over their latest data, Ava broke the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan, what if we're not ready for the Council's decision? What if they decide to shut us down? Ethan paused, looking at her with an intensity that calmed her fears. We can't let ourselves think like that, Ava. We've made significant progress. The results from our latest trials are promising. We just need to present our findings clearly and confidently. I know, she replied, her brow furrowing in concern. But after everything we've been through, I can't shake the feeling that the Council's doubts might overshadow our hard work. They've already made it clear that they're not entirely supportive of our methods. Ethan leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms thoughtfully. True, but that's precisely why we have to present our findings in a way that demonstrates our dedication to transparency and ethical practices. If we can show them that we're not just scientists but advocates for our people, they might see the value in what we're doing. With a nod of determination, Ava pulled up their latest experimental data on the screen. Let's focus on the positive outcomes. If we can demonstrate the potential impact of our work, perhaps we can sway some of the skeptics in the Council. As they spent the following hours meticulously crafting their presentation, a renewed sense of purpose filled the lab. The familiar sound of typing and the whir of equipment became a symphony of hope, a reminder that they were on the verge of something extraordinary. On the day of the Council meeting, the atmosphere felt electric, tension thick in the air as they entered the grand chamber. The Council members were assembled, their expressions a blend of skepticism and cautious curiosity. Ava's heart raced as she prepared to present their findings, the stakes feeling higher than ever. Dr. Venek, Dr. Davis, Chief Harren began, his voice steady yet commanding. You have been granted the opportunity to present your findings. Make your case. Ava stepped forward, her mind racing. Honorable Counsel, we stand before you today, not only as scientists, but as your partners in the fight against infertility. Our latest trials have yielded promising results, and we believe we are closer than ever to finding a solution. As she presented their findings, she felt the Council's eyes on her, measuring her every word. The data display behind her highlighted the significant breakthroughs they had achieved. The protein synthesis that had shown positive reactions in preliminary tests, the correlation of the identified genetic markers with successful conceptions. Ethan joined her, his voice firm. The protein we synthesized has demonstrated a profound interaction with the genetic structures of our test subjects. In our most recent trials, we observed a marked improvement in the cellular response, indicating that we are on the right track. The council members murmured among themselves, the weight of their scrutiny palpable. Chief Harren leaned forward, his expression inscrutable. You claim success, but how can we be certain that your methods are safe? What measures have you taken to ensure that your trials do not harm our people? Ava felt a surge of urgency. We are fully committed to ethical practices. All our trials have been conducted with strict adherence to safety protocols, and we continuously monitor the health and well-being of all subjects involved. Our goal is to restore health, not to risk further harm. Despite her efforts, she sensed lingering doubt among some council members, their skepticism a barrier she had yet to breach. Just then, a council member named Zoran, known for his critical stance against new approaches, spoke up. We have heard countless promises of success before. What makes this time different? Ethan stepped forward, undeterred by Zoran's words. What makes this time different is our dedication to collaboration and transparency. We are here to seek your guidance and support, not to undermine the traditions of our people. We believe that together, we can create a better future for the Kellians. Ava took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping across the council. We are at a crossroads, council members. The survival of our race is at stake. If we do not take action now, we risk losing everything. Our findings may be the key to securing a future for the generations to come. The council chamber fell into a tense silence, the weight of Ava's words hanging heavily in the air. Chief Harren's eyes narrowed thoughtfully, considering the gravity of the situation. You have presented compelling evidence, but we require time to deliberate. We will reconvene in 3 days to discuss your proposal further. As they left the chamber, Ava felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. They had managed to present their findings and secure a chance for further discussion, but the uncertainty of the council's final decision loomed like a shadow over them. In the days leading up to the next meeting, the pressure mounted. Ava and Ethan worked tirelessly, revising their data and conducting additional experiments to reinforce their arguments. Every moment felt crucial, the ticking clock a constant reminder of the stakes at hand. Tal, who had been their steadfast ally, approached them one evening with a concerned expression. Dr. Venek, I've overheard some council members discussing your methods. There are whispers that some factions are preparing to challenge your approach aggressively. Ava's heart sank. We can't afford any setbacks now. We need to rally support from those who believe in our work. Ethan nodded, determination shining in his eyes. Let's reach out to the council members who were intrigued by our findings. We need allies who can advocate for our approach, who can speak to the potential impact of our work on the future of the Kellians. In the following days, they worked tirelessly to forge connections with council members who had shown interest in their research. They held private discussions, sharing their findings and the urgency of their mission. Slowly but surely, they began to gather a small group of supporters who believed in their vision. As they prepared for the final council meeting, the atmosphere in the laboratory shifted. The once familiar sense of doubt gave way to a growing belief in their mission. Ava and Ethan stood together, ready to face the council once more. On the day of the meeting, the council chamber felt charged with anticipation. As Ava and Ethan stepped forward, they sensed a shift in the room. The murmurs of doubt had quieted, replaced by a focus that felt almost electric. Dr. Venek, Dr. Davis, Chief Harron addressed them once more, a glimmer of curiosity in his eyes. You have gained the support of several council members, and we are eager to hear your final proposal. Ava took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their journey behind her. Honorable Council, we stand before you as advocates for the future of our people. Our research has demonstrated a path forward, and with your support, we can begin the clinical trials necessary to bring our findings to fruition. As she spoke, the room hung on her words. For the first time, she felt the council's resistance beginning to wane, replaced by a flicker of hope. The journey had been long, filled with uncertainty and doubt, but they had persevered. Together, they were paving a path toward a brighter future for the Kellyan race. The path forward. The moment the High Council gave its reluctant approval for the clinical trials, an electrifying surge of hope swept through the laboratory. Dr. Ava Venek and Dr. Ethan Davis exchanged triumphant glances, their arduous journey finally yielding tangible results. They had successfully navigated the treacherous waters of skepticism and doubt, and now, with the Council's blessing, her real work was about to begin. With renewed vigor, Ava dove into the logistics of the upcoming trials. The atmosphere in the lab was electric, charged with a sense of purpose and determination. We need to ensure that every aspect of our trials is meticulously documented, she emphasized, pacing as she spoke. The Council will be monitoring us closely, and we must adhere to the highest ethical standards. We cannot afford any missteps. Ethan, seated at his workstation, nodded fervently. Absolutely. I'll create a robust monitoring system to track the health and responses of our participants. We'll conduct pre-trial screenings and regular checkups to ensure their well-being. As they moved forward, the laboratory buzzed with activity. Tal worked diligently to gather the necessary genetic samples, reaching out to potential volunteers throughout the Kellyan community. The stories of those who had faced the heartbreak of infertility weighed heavily on Ava's heart. Each narrative was a reminder of why they were fighting so fervently, a chance to restore families and give hope to those who had nearly lost it. Over the following days, Ava and Ethan prepared for the first trial. They refined their protocols, ensured that every detail was accounted for, and established a timeline for monitoring and evaluations. The lab transformed into a hive of productivity, where the quiet hum of machines harmonized with the focused conversations of the scientists working tirelessly toward a common goal. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow through the laboratory windows, Ava glanced at Ethan, her eyes reflecting both excitement and apprehension. We're about to embark on something monumental, Ethan. What if things don't go as planned? Ethan met her gaze with unwavering confidence. We've prepared for every possible outcome. Yes, there will be risks, but we've also laid the groundwork for success. The data we've gathered is promising. We just need to stay focused and adaptable. Ava took a deep breath, the weight of their mission settling heavily on her shoulders. You're right. We've come too far to back down now. Let's do this for the Kellyans. Let's give them a chance at life. As they finalized their preparations, they began recruiting volunteers for the trials. The response was overwhelming. Many Kellyans, motivated by a deep yearning for family, stepped forward. Each story they encountered tugged at Ava's heartstrings. There was a couple who had been trying to conceive for over a decade, a single mother hoping for a sibling for her child, and families who had endured loss and heartache. One evening, they held a meeting to address the volunteers, eager to explain the trial and answer any questions. The room was filled with anxious faces, each individual representing a story of hope and desperation. Thank you all for being here, Ava began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. We understand how difficult this journey has been for each of you, and we are truly honored that you are willing to join us in this trial. Our goal is simple: to restore fertility and provide a brighter future for you and your families. Ethan stepped forward, his presence commanding. We will be conducting a series of tests to monitor your health and reactions to the synthesized protein. Your safety is our top priority, and we will keep you informed at every step of the process. If at any point you feel uncomfortable or wish to withdraw, please know that you can do so without any repercussions. After the meeting, as the volunteers began to leave, Ava felt a mixture of emotions: hope, determination, and a touch of fear. She knew the stakes were high, and the lives of these individuals rested on their success. Ethan caught her eye and smiled reassuringly. "We're going to make this work, Ava, together." With their first trial date approaching, the laboratory was filled with a palpable sense of anticipation. Ava and Ethan worked late into the night, double-checking equipment and ensuring that everything was in place. As they prepared, Ava felt a surge of gratitude for the collaboration that had brought them to this moment. The day of the trial arrived, and the atmosphere was charged with excitement and anxiety. Volunteers gathered, and the lab buzzed with activity as the research team prepared for the first injections. Each participant was briefed on the procedure, and Ava and Ethan walked them through every detail, striving to reassure them. As they conducted the first injection, Ava's heart raced. She felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility as she monitored the participants' reactions. The room was silent, the tension palpable as they awaited any sign of response. Ethan stood by her side, his expression focused. "Stay calm, Ava. We've prepared for this. The initial reactions will take time to manifest." Hours passed, filled with a mix of optimism and nervousness. One by one, the participants underwent the procedure. They observed closely, documenting every detail, every reaction. As they conducted further tests and assessments, they began to see positive signs: increased cell activity, stronger responses in the genetic material. The mood in the laboratory gradually shifted from anxious anticipation to cautious optimism. After the first day of trials, Ava and Ethan convened with Tal to review the data collected. "We have some initial positive results," Ava announced, her voice trembling with excitement. "The cellular activity among several participants has shown a marked increase. This could mean that the protein is having the desired effect." Ethan leaned closer to the display, analyzing the graphs. "Look at these numbers. If we maintain this momentum, we could be on the brink of a breakthrough." However, just as the excitement began to swell, a shadow flickered across Ava's face. "But we need to be careful. One success doesn't guarantee that the trials will continue to be effective. We must remain vigilant." Days turned into weeks, each trial revealing a new layer of complexity in their research. They continued to monitor the participants' health closely, making adjustments to their approach as necessary. As they gathered more data, it became evident that while the initial results were promising, the journey ahead would not be without challenges. One evening, as they reviewed the latest data, Tal entered the lab with a serious expression. "Dr. Venek, there's been some backlash from the council. Some members are concerned about the potential long-term effects of your treatment." Ava felt her stomach drop. "What do they want us to do? Cease the trials?" "They're demanding additional reports on the safety of the protein and its effects. They want assurances that we're not risking the health of our volunteers," Tal explained, his brow furrowed with concern. Ethan's expression hardened. "We need to reassure them. We can't allow fear to dictate our progress. We're making strides, and we have to show the council the potential impact of our work." Ava nodded, her determination reignited. "Let's gather our findings and compile a comprehensive report. We'll present everything we've learned about the safety measures we have in place and the positive results we've achieved." As they worked late into the night, assembling their report, Ava felt a renewed sense of purpose. The stakes were higher than ever, but she refused to let doubt extinguish the flickering flame of hope they had ignited. When they returned to the council the following week, They presented their findings with clarity and conviction. They outlined the safety protocols they had implemented, the monitoring systems in place, and the promising results from their trials. Chief Harron listened intently, his expression inscrutable. "While I appreciate the thoroughness of your report, the concerns remain. We cannot overlook the potential risks." Ava stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We understand the Council's concerns, but we also believe that every day we hesitate is another day that we risk losing a generation of Kellians. Our approach is not without risks, but the potential benefits far outweigh them." After a lengthy deliberation, the Council members exchanged glances. It was clear that Ava and Ethan's passionate plea had made an impact, but whether it would be enough remained to be seen. Finally, Chief Harron nodded slowly. "We will allow the trials to continue, but we expect regular updates on the health of the participants. We will not tolerate any negligence in their care." As they left the Council chamber, a sense of cautious relief washed over Ava and Ethan. They had secured permission to continue their work, but the path ahead remained fraught with uncertainty. With the trials back on track, they pressed forward, committed to overcoming any obstacles that lay ahead. Together, they were not just fighting for their research, they were fighting for the future of the Kellian race. In the weeks that followed, the trials produced a whirlwind of data and insights. Each new round of testing brought both successes and setbacks. They encountered unexpected side effects in some participants, prompting Ava and Ethan to revise their approach. Despite these challenges, their dedication to the project never wavered. As they continued their work, they developed a deeper understanding of the complexities of the Kellian genetic structure. The more they learned, the more they realized that hope and resilience were intertwined in the fabric of their research. The bond between Ava and Ethan grew stronger, their friendship deepening with each challenge they faced. They shared late-night discussions filled with laughter, moments of vulnerability, and dreams of a brighter future. They were no longer just colleagues, they were partners in every sense of the word, united by a common goal. One evening, as they reviewed the data from their latest round of trials, Ethan looked up, his expression serious. "We're getting closer, Ava. I can feel it." Ava smiled, her heart swelling with hope. "Yes, we are. But we need to remain vigilant. We're on the brink of something incredible, but we can't lose sight of the challenges that still lie ahead." As they prepared for the next phase of their research, they knew that the journey was far from over. But with each step they took, they felt more confident that they were paving the way for a new future, one where hope reigned supreme and the Kellian race could once again